Okay, one moment. Okay, this is exciting. Okay, everyone. Oh my goodness, it's real, it's happening. We're recording, so that means the meeting is started. Well, welcome, folks, and to all you viewers later on. I know not everybody could be here because we have other events happening this evening, and I'm sure parents are taking their kids trick-or-treating or who knows what. So, but we're very happy to be here. This is the Differently Abled Action Team. This is our very first meeting. And so it's very, very exciting to be here with everyone. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to do some check-ins. And so when I say check-in, that just means, not chicken, check-in. It just means that we're going to go around and say our name, our pronouns, where we are from, and what brought us to the meeting this evening. So if someone would like to start.
Get out of the screen. Sorry. I forget how to screen.
Doggies are very popular at CCL, so doggies always want screen time. Nick, would you like to start it off?
Okay, sure. My name is Nick Sam. Prefer to be addressed by he since I'm male. 32 years old, live in North Carolina. Been with CCL for about 5-6 months now, and really just wanted to help start this action team based on noticing there wasn't a specific action team related to folks with disabilities. So I thought, why not?
That's awesome. I love it. Do you want to pick somebody to go next?
All right. Barbara, would you care to go?
Sure. I'm Barbara Jew, and I've been a CCL member for about 3.5 years. I'm in the San Francisco chapter. I've also volunteered for other environmental organizations like Sierra Club. And I'm also part of the Peace Corps Action Team and the Asian Pacific Action Team in CCL. And I'm here because I was invited to speak. And I'm also interested in what you're doing. So.
Awesome, Barbara, thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to pick somebody?
Callum, how about you?
Hey, I'm Callum. I use they, he pronouns. I live on the traditional lands of the Munsee Lenape up in Northwest New Jersey. And I joined tonight to support Patty and the 2 others who have been working on this action team, but I've also been disabled myself for about 3.5 years. Karina.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Karina Ramirez. Pronouns she, her, ella in Spanish. I am connecting from the traditional lands of the Seminole, Taino, Tequesta, Geauga people in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I came to this meeting because I also wanted to support the new initiative. I am a CCL's Diversity and Inclusion Director, but outside of that, I'm extremely happy to see that there's an interest in getting people from this community participating in climate change. So I am just very excited for you and so happy to support you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And since Will is unable to be here tonight, he did send a video. So I'm going to play that so that everyone can meet them and they can speak for themselves. So let me just share screen. And I don't know if that's too big. All right. You guys can see that?
Yeah.
And I checked volume, so let's make sure it plays with volume.
My name is Will Shields. I am the action team leader, one of the leaders of the action team of Differently Abled. We are a group that is tailored to everyone. You can join, you have a disability or don't. We want to help people with disabilities and help the climate. I hope you enjoy the group and welcome to the group and welcome to the action team. Thank you.
I know, I loved it. He's like, what do you think about me sending a video? I was like, perfect. So that way, he gets to speak on his behalf and say and share his words, just like Nick shared his words about how coming to CCL and looking around for, his crew, our crew, there was something there. And because of these two individuals that were wanting to volunteer with CCL and are volunteering with CCL, we now have this incredible action team that is making it lobbying and writing to Congress or even letters to the editor about climate more accessible and inclusive to a demographic that has been ignored and historically mistreated for a very long time. So this is a really, really cool historic moment for CCL, and CCL has made lots of big moments, and here's another one to add to it. So I'm hoping this would make Marshall very happy to see this action team and see us work so hard for this inclusion. So yeah, it's good stuff. This is we're doing good, folks. Let me just go back to my agenda, the next thing. Okay, so next on the list, what we have is our mission statement. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Nick, and Nick will read the mission statement out loud. And it's also on most of our media pages. So no worries on that. And it's also in community. So Nick, if you want to go ahead and read that for us.
All right. Thank you. Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
All right. The mission of the Differently Abled Action Team is to foster an inclusive environment for anyone who is interested in differently abled challenges. Differently abled people have been underrepresented in the climate movement, and it is our goal to empower more people to take positive, firm actions and spread awareness on climate change within our communities. We offer a safe place for everyone to talk about climate actions, policies, and self-care from the perspectives of members of the differently abled community.
Thank you. And actually, Barbara, what's really interesting is that Nick, Will, and myself were very inspired by the Asian Pacific Action Team. So we often went to y'all's page for inspiration. So I wanted to share that with you. Yeah, that's where we went for our inspiration. The Asian Pacific Action Team, we really liked how things were worded and phrased. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to the Asian Pacific Action Team for being so awesome and inspirational. And so,
You're very good.
yeah. So one thing we do want to talk about is we've had some folks that ask us, so why is differently abled spelled the way it is, where differently is in all lowercase and abled is in uppercase? And Nick, if you would like to talk about how you and Will came to that idea, that decision, I think it would help folks understand a little bit more on what the action team's goals are.
All right, thanks. Well, Will and I, we came up with the idea just because, like, the term that's commonly used these days, disabilities or disabled, is something of a misnomer, really, because it only focuses on what someone can't do. Instead, we're focusing on how people can do things, what we can do. And just because we might do things in a different way or think a different way or walk a different way, that doesn't mean that we are incapable of things. We can do things our own way. Like typically abled people can do, but we just do things in a different way too. So it's all about inclusiveness and bringing people together and focusing on our strengths and focusing that we have far more abilities than disabilities. Kind of swapping around and make it more positive. So that's how we came up with that idea.
Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah, because there were some folks that were, kind of taken by it, like, like that's different, And as I shared, I was like, well, the volunteers came up with it, and they're the ones that they felt that they really wanted to make the mark and be like leaders of this action team, and wanted folks to feel included. And just like Nick said, it was about focusing on abilities, not necessarily disabilities, because even when you are a disabled person, like someone said this, they didn't remember the quote verbatim, but part of the quote was, disabilities brings innovation. And so when you think about it, if you have a disability, you have to get creative and you have to think fast, because the world does not stop for us. And so it's about us making it known that, hey, just because we're different doesn't mean that we're less. So part of it is helping folks understand how they see themselves looking at the disabled community, because that's where some of the challenge really is. It isn't so much that we have to change how they think about this demographic, but how they think about themselves thinking about this demographic. So this is something that is very much about looking within, and for folks not to be scared, and it's okay. This is why we have these teams to talk about all these things, and it's important. Also, I wanted to share, and let's see here. We started October 11th with our Instagram and our Twitter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen. Those are just some notes. For some reason, it opened several times. Here's our Instagram. So far, we have 55 followers. Yesterday was 54. And so what we're doing is we're trying to bring out more awareness on different disabilities. Like one of the main reasons why we wanted to launch in October is because it's National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And we thought that that would be something really cool to amplify, because that's another space that we want disabled folks to be in, is in those professional settings. And like Nick said, like there are more ability than disabilities in a disabled person. And like the other individual said, it brings innovation. So, disabled folks can bring a lot to the table because they have to think differently, and it's something we can really bring to the world. And so what we're doing is picking folks that have disabilities and having the put up a quote, and then featuring something per week. Like October is ADHD Awareness Month. And so I put some popular folks that were had ADHD. And then what we do is we're going to include, I love that Lisa Ling had ADHD, because I grew up watching her in high school on the high school channel for when we would get our news, and I just loved her. And so like we put a little bit of information, we try to have some resources for people to go to, so they're not just left like, oh, okay, and also these are resources that we used for our information. So that was really awesome, 55 folks. And then our Twitter is going to be used like most Twitter accounts for CCL, like when we have like an action where, you know, it might be like tweet to Congress, or, you know, it's lobby days, you know, and things like that. So here we have the link to the community page, so folks know where we are in community. And we kept whatever's on the blue banner just right here from our community page. And we're going to be featuring articles and resources like that. And of course, whatever we're doing for CCL, like whatever our campaign is at the time. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we had a Twitter so that we could get to that. And let's see, we have 17 followers, so not bad considering it's Twitter, and that we're still kind of getting our feet wet. You know, we're trying to figure out, get our rhythm. And Nick is also going to be doing what we are going to call Word of the Week. And Nick has already been getting content ready for that. So different words that people may be uncomfortable with, like the term handicap, or, you know, deaf and dumb, things that were part of history that we don't do anymore, but so that they understand part of the trauma of those demographics and their culture. So that way we can meet folks where they are. So it's also going to teach us about doing a little bit of homework, which is, you know, it's part of the inclusion work, and making things accessible is to understand a little bit more on where folks are in their lives. So the next thing we had was ideas for outreach. If anyone has any ideas, Barbara, I know you've been involved in the Asian Pacific Action Team. If you've seen something successful, by all means, please share with us. Or if, you know, but we'll probably be doing a little bit more on social media, I think. So,
I was thinking you have an opportunity, since the conference is coming up and there's going to be the Action Team Fair, to actually be able to recruit new members. So there's going to be a listing of all of the different teams and who's featuring where, so that people can join, and that could be a way to tell folks to come and find a team. And because you're new, I have a feeling that there will be a lot of interest in learning, you know, what people can do together in the team.
Kellen, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, for that, I would just make sure you email Todd directly, because the due date was the 22nd. They always take people after the due date, just so he knows to actually look for it on the spreadsheet, in case they've already done stuff with the spreadsheet.
Okay, thank you for that extra insight. Yeah, that's something that Nick, Will, and myself, depending on, of course, your availability, we understand you have work, but that's something that we can be hopefully on get in. Hopefully, I'm sure Todd will help us out, since we are new. We're still learning how things get done. And that way we can be there and we can meet folks and talk to them, and, you know, help them learn that, you know, you can approach a disabled person. You know, you don't have to think of, how do I talk to a disabled person? No, it's just conversation, you know, not to go without fear, go with laughter. You know what I mean? That's always something really good. So I will definitely look into that with Todd. Thank you, Callum. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is something Todd actually found. We were, Nick, Will, and myself were on a meeting. I don't know if you remember this, Nick, when Todd found this and he was saying that maybe we should tweet to them or see what they're doing. So this is the Bipartisan Disabilities Caucus. So this is looking real interesting since we are a bipartisan group. And what we focus on is diversity, relationship building, personal power, focus, optimism, you know, and let's see if maybe these folks can help us out. You know, they also have an incredible resource page that this is one group I've been coming to for resources, for information. So by all means, if y'all ever want to check this out, I definitely feature them in our Twitter and stuff like that. I think I might, no, I haven't yet, but I did put access to a calendar of for, you know, the year of what disabilities are celebrated on what day or month. That is on our Twitter, and I will get this one going. So let's see. Yeah, that was the last big thing I wanted to share, because, you know, we are bipartisan and there's something already there for us. And I think that's amazing. That just shows how the community wants this. You know, this demographic wants to be included. And, you know, right now they're on their own, but why should folks be on their own when we can work together? I mean, Nick, I mean, how do you feel about the way this team will work on climate, you know?
Yeah, I think it definitely would be a big help to be more inclusive about this type of thing, especially with these issues, because climate change affects everybody in some way or another. So you pretty much have to try to get everybody's viewpoints in order to get the most cohesive solution, since it's a worldwide thing. Some folks in some countries will be affected more than others, and some demographics will be more affected than others. So why not get everyone's input?
Exactly. And thanks to you and Will, we're making that happen because of your inquiries on where the location of the group would be. So now there's going to be folks coming on board that are going to be like, wow, there's a group just for me, like that understands me. And that's something I'm really excited about. So next is, hold on. I went ahead, I know Barbara, you sent us your LinkedIn. So I'm just going to put that in the chat. I appreciate that, by the way. And so I was in one of the Pacific Action Team meetings, and because I love going to those meetings, I always get so much out of them. They're just so, I feel so comfortable there. It's such a comfortable environment. It feels safe and welcoming and nurturing, and it's just, I love the Asian Pacific Action Team. I think y'all do such amazing work. And you were a guest speaker on one of your action team calls, and I was just, I thought it was amazing. You were talking about some of your experiences in the Peace Corps. Now, the reason why I say amazing is because you brought up working with people with disabilities. And that's what really stuck out to me. And just to know that there was someone advocating, you know, for so long. I mean, would you like to share more about some of your experiences? We'd love to hear them.
Oh, of course. I'm happy to do that. I would love to share my experience. When I was in Peace Corps, which was 2013 to 15, I did it after I retired. I went over to Moldova for 2 years, and I worked in this program called Small Enterprise Development. And I had a local NGO as my business partner. They were a Business Women's Association, and they focused on entrepreneurial training for young people. And they had done a pretty good job before I got there. They had actually trained something like 1,500 young people in entrepreneurship, in putting together a business plan, putting together a budget, putting together market research, doing all of that in order for a young person to start up a small business. And most of the small businesses were primarily sole proprietorships, because in the villages in Moldova, they could use small shops, such as, a hair salon or an automotive service shop, woodworking shop. So these villages didn't have much of anything, and small businesses like that would be beneficial to those communities. So, we started off small and helped many young people in some of these remote villages start up these small businesses. And over the years, my NGO expanded to reach more young people. So they partnered with vocational schools, and these vocational schools taught different trades and crafts. So for example, they would partner with a vocational school that had a culinary arts curriculum. So students would be coming into this program and learning how to cook and how to work as a kitchen worker, or even starting up a little cafe, so they would be able to learn the whole spectrum of working in a kitchen. And some of them may not be at the front end of the kitchen, but a lot of them start off at the back end, but they were learning a trade. There was also vocational curriculums in tailoring. So some women opened up their own tailoring shops. Some opened up like small interior design salons. So these are all different kinds of crafts and trades that you didn't have to go to university and get a 4-year degree. But this helped the economy in a lot of those small communities. And then my NGO is very successful in being able to work with different kinds of beneficiaries in different parts of the country. And when I got there, I was still helping them with those kinds of trainings, and also consulting with some of the beneficiaries, because some of them were starting to actually employ people. They had grown a little bit more so that they had to hire people to be employees. And my background is in human resources, so I was able to help some of those small businesses. I help them learn how to manage employees, basically. They didn't really know how to motivate people. They didn't know how to evaluate performance, things like that. And that's really my human resources background. So I was able to provide a workshop in human resources management, personnel management. And that really helped some of those companies that were starting to expand. So, I really enjoyed the entire experience, because I was able to use my business background and really help some of the local people there. And one aspect that my NGO started to get into was training people with different abilities. So one project that we got a grant for was to help people with vision impairment learn how to do massage therapy. And we were able to hire, hired a master massage therapist from, I think he was from Thailand, and he came over and he, I think it was a 2-month rigorous program to teach a pilot group of people with vision impairment in massage therapy. And so, you know, they had to go to class, they had to, you know, listen, you know, get lectures, do practical exercises. So over, I think, a 3-month period, they, you know, had to pass exams, you know, and pass a practical test, and then they were what we would call certified. And to help them after they graduated, my NGO actually started up its own massage center. And we were able to acquire a space with the help of the mayor's office in our city. And we had to go in and pretty much, you know, clean out the space. We had to get all the equipment, you know, the massage tables. We had to, you know, buy all this material and renovate the space. And so we set up our own massage center, and we hired, I think there were 6 of the people from the initial graduating class that we brought on to the center. And it provided them with a safe space to be able to practice their new craft, their new trade, and learn how to run a business. Because while they had passed, you know, the certification for actual massage therapy practice, they really never ran a business before. So we were trying to serve as, you know, mentors to them, and they were apprenticing in the massage center so that they could not only practice their new techniques, but also learn about keeping the books, you know, keeping accounting records, you know, all the usual things that a small business owner needed to know. So those 6 people, I think most of them stayed for at least 6 months. A few stayed for a year. And once they were comfortable, you know, and some of them wanted to go back to their villages. So they were able to go back and open up their own practice, but they had the skills and the knowledge base to do it. And, you know, we still provided consulting with them if they needed it ongoing. So that was a really fun project. It was a great project. We had a big opening when our massage center, you know, had a grand opening, and we had, you know, these different city officials, elected officials coming in, and leaders from different civic organizations coming in for the grand opening. And it made, I think it actually made nationwide news that we did this. So that was really one fun project. And it worked out for me because years ago, I had actually gotten my own certification in massage therapy. So I kind of knew how to do some of this. And so I was able to also provide them with some tips on how to do massage therapy. So it was fun. And that I left after a year. Once the center had opened, my service had ended. So, but I did know that the center is still open. And I think they had a couple of more classes with new enrollments of people with vision impairment. Then a second project that we had with others who were more mobily disabled. Their minds are fine, but some of them had mobility challenges, and there were probably 15 of them in this who came to this particular center, and they would go there usually during the day and have they would have services provided at this particular center. And we got another grant to work with them to teach them some arts and crafts so that they could learn craft and become proficient enough so that they could sell some of their products in the local markets. They have big open air markets in many of these big towns. So they could go to these markets and sell their crafts. So one of the crafts that we taught them was candle making. And I was able to get another grant to purchase these candle making equipment. There's some special equipment that you'll need for making candles. So I was able to get that equipment for them. And then I think there was another craft that we had them, some of the others learned woodworking. So we got also some equipment for this little woodworking shop. And we had a master woodworker work with, I think three of them, I think they were men, three of the men in this center who wanted to learn woodworking. And so they apprenticed with this master woodworker, and we got them some special equipment. So I think it was, I forget how long the period was, maybe 4 months of training, and also again, learning how to write a business plan, do the budgets. There's the business side as well as the practical side. So I think over a period of 4 months, they were able to complete their coursework. And I did actually see photos of like all these candles that the beneficiaries had produced. There were also some cabinets that I saw. I actually visited the workshop and saw some of the work in progress there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yes.
So you were able to actually watch these people grow through these programs, right? Like, because you were watching them from start to finish.
Yeah.
And
I was there again in these two projects were going on in my last year of service. So it was my second year of service, and I did see them graduate, and I saw them begin to do their new crafts and trades. But then my service ended, but I have heard that they are still continuing. And yeah, so I mean, once you learn the trade, we can't force them to go open up a business, but many of them when they stayed within the center, this services center that they were going for during the daytime, they would come in from some different villages, and they would go to this center where they received a lot of services and education and the other kinds of learning. But within that umbrella, they were able to continue to function. But again, I don't know, personally, I don't know each and every one and whether they
Oh, yeah, of course.
went back to their villages to open up a workshop or something. I don't know, but once you learn the trade, I think there was definitely an increase in confidence, and self-sufficiency, and
I was about to ask you, what were some of the emotions that were going on in these individuals,
Yeah, I mean, they were really proud that they were, they had some measure of some financial independence.
Right.
Because even though Moldova has, they have a social safety net, and being a former Soviet country, they provide subsidies to the people with, disabilities, or they're elderly, or orphans, or they have a broad social safety net. But the benefits that the families get isn't that much.
Right.
It's a very small amount. And so the beneficiaries were really motivated to learn to do something that was, productive, that gave them purpose, as well as some financial independence. So they were very motivated.
So this sounds like programs like this are really important to communities, or, tribes, or wherever you are in the world. But would you say these are the types of programming that we need to do to empower and encourage our disabled, community members?
Well, we in a lot of the countries where Peace Corps goes, they're developing countries, and they don't have a mature capitalistic system in place like the US has. And that actually isn't a bad thing, because a country like Moldova and some of these other developing countries, they actually do emphasize social entrepreneurship. And it's not so much that you have to make a lot of money for your company. You're really much more involved in community development as well as economic development in many of these countries. And here in the US, it's not quite the same. Capitalism is pretty embedded, and corporations have a lot more power here than in most other countries. So I don't see as much social entrepreneurship done here in the US as in other developing countries.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting to know too. Does anyone have questions? Do you guys have anything you'd like to ask Barbara? I didn't know. Did you want to say something, Karina?
I was going to, but I wasn't sure if Sam had a question.
Oh,
Nick had a question.
No, I'm good. I don't have anything to ask.
Okay. What I wanted to know, Barbara, because you did mention that, you're still here, whether, the programs are still going. I wondered, generation-wise, people that you met during your time in service, and then their kids, are they still embracing these kinds of programs, or what is the reaction?
Yes, the part of the problem of longevity for the programs is that the NGOs in these developing countries rely so heavily on international aid and grants. And if you don't continue to get that kind of funding, you know, some of these programs may not stay in place. So you're trying to at least plant seeds, you know, in these countries and with these NGOs. And you hope that when, you know, as a Peace Corps volunteer, you leave and you've taught, I was trying to make sure that the NGO that I worked with had all the information that they needed to carry on after I left. But the positive thing is that there's so many of the young people in these countries who are craving this kind of information and these new methods and approaches, because they want to learn and they want to move their country along further. And, you know, working with the older generation, it's a little harder, but the younger generation are just so enthusiastic, and they want to take up the torch and they want to run with it. And so you really make a big impact on the younger people there.
That's interesting. Like sometimes you don't realize who you're inspiring when you're doing the work.
Yeah.
And I hope that this action team does the same thing. Like, I hope we inspire lots of people, you know, whether we see them or not. You know, they might be watching the recordings or just keeping up with us on social media, you know. Like, I hope that we're able to do a little something, you know, for people, you know, to learn more about what's out there and climate involvement. But I think that's wonderful, all that work. I love hearing about all these vocational programming, because it's just, people forget that we need to focus on confidence and self-esteem as well. And I love that y'all incorporated the business aspect too, not just like, here's the trade, now go find somewhere to work. It was like, no, here's the trade, now here's the business part of it. So if you want to open your own place, you're equipped with that. So yeah, that's something I really admire, and I'm grateful Peace Corps is thinking that far ahead, you know, because that's, over time, you know, disabled people were sometimes treated as just like, okay, you know, you can't hear, but you can dig a hole. So here you go, dig a hole.
Yeah.
Instead of investing in them and trying to find something, whatever their different ability is, and then focus on that and then help them grow from it. So I think we've come a long way here in the world, in the US, you know, as to how to think about differently abled people, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, I opened my eyes. I mean, I had never worked with differently abled people that much. I mean, and it was just very inspiring, and they're just really hard workers, dedicated. Yeah, very motivated.
That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to see that firsthand, because then you get to tell the story, you know, and that helps people understand disabled folks just a little bit more, you know.
Right.
Awesome. Okay, one more time. Does anyone have any questions? Because we're getting close to the hour. No?
Nope.
Well, Barbara, I want to thank you for coming by and supporting us and giving us this history, and also, you know, just having another CCL person involved in another action team and telling us your story and what you've experienced. Because when we share our stories, it helps us feel better, and it helps us learn, and then we become more comfortable and aware, and that way people don't feel so, you know, just like I said, like, oh, well, you're deaf, but you can dig a hole, here you go, and then just not care. Like, this is all about caring and empathy, and I love it.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
It was a
thank
pleasure.
you. Now, One thing I would like to ask folks is typically we do a screenshot. And since our team doesn't have any screenshots yet, because today's the first time, I was wondering, I was gonna say, if you guys are supportive of us doing a screenshot, so we
Sure.
can. This is gonna be our first screenshot. I'm so excited because CCL is all about the Zoom screenshot. So, Karina, do you think you could help me out?
Yeah.
With the computer? Okay, cool.
Yeah, not a problem. All right. Let's bring our best smile forward. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. That's one screenshot. And the other one. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. Got it. I will send those to you, but they said so you can put it in the form.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming and supporting us. And Nick, congratulations, team leader. You survived your first meeting.
Yeah.
How are you feeling as an action team leader right now?
I am just feeling like just kind of like really like I don't know what the proper word is. I guess surreal would be a good way to describe it. Just because I had never done anything like this like ever in my life, so it's like doing something that can have to make a big difference to a lot of people. Someone who thought that I personally wouldn't have the option or for the longest time ability to do something like this. It's just amazing, honestly.
I'm so glad CCL is here to help amplify your voice and help you, do as much as you want for fighting for climate justice. And I'm just glad that CCL is here. And I know my goal as a program coordinator, inclusion department program coordinator, is to just like Karina, make sure that people feel included and that it's an inclusive environment and that it's accessible too. So, all right, everybody, thank you so very much. What a
Thank you.
wonderful first meeting.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.